Hi, folks. How you doing? Once again, I want to thank you for taking the time out of your day. Tune in, listen to me talk. Hopefully, you're learning great things. That's the whole objective of this channel is to help everybody grow mind, body, spirit. So, this is going to be, of course, this is going to be a video on friendship. With the last video, I started a men's group. This week, unfortunately, it was just my cousin and I, but it was really great. That was last night, and it was like an hour and a half. It was great. TV off, and just really opening up to each other. And this was relationship week. He just got out of a relationship. I just got out of kind of a relationship. I wish my friends would have wanted to join because I know a lot of them want relationships or going through a divorce or in a relationship. There's a lot of issues around this topic. So that's what this one was about. So once again, like I said, I have my printout here, 3 pages. Like I said, this discussion with my cousin and I, the great thing is, since we had already established a really good conversation last week about friendship, that now it was just they were all kind of meshing together and a lot of great stuff coming out of it, and even some stuff that is going to go into next week, which will be about raising a family. Right? So of course, I always start off with my little sense. It seems like everybody wants a girlfriend and most likely a wife. We are getting older. I'm in my 30s. A lot of my friends are in their 30s. So let's talk about our current relationships and what we are doing or what we are doing to get into a relationship. Because I have single friends. So, it's kind of like, what are we doing to meet women? For my friends that are in relationships, we all know that relationships have their ups and downs. So we want to explore all options of what good things we are doing in a relationship and what bad things that we are doing in a relationship that we need to work on. So we got into that. Then we got into some biblical stuff, like I said, because it's always coming from the Bible. And of course, it's just like Proverbs. Everybody should read those books. Like I said, I've got a video on what books of the Bible that anyone should read. They're not going to be too preachy. They're just words of wisdom. Check out that video. So we've got Proverbs 31:10-11. I'm not gonna read it. You guys can look it up. When it comes to it, just talks about a great wife. I'm gonna summarize it. A great wife, and it has a happy husband. Makes a happy husband. We always hear the term happy wife, happy life. Well, it's the same thing. If a man finds a really, really good woman, the right woman, and works on his relationship, it just says everything's great. And it says you must trust her. It says she's a precious jewel. So the same thing, is just, do you trust your girlfriend? Then we kind of talked about that. And for us coming, a lot of my friends and stuff are, we're all still, some of them are caught up in addiction. The loved ones are in addiction and things like that. And it comes down to not understanding the concept of being around the opposite sex while intoxicated. And it's not that I don't trust you. It's just, unfortunately, when alcohol comes into play, everybody's guards down. Who knows what's going to happen? Crazy things can happen. So it's just really trying to talk about that trust issue and being able to be open about that. The next thing, it was the same thing with communication. We've got to be able to do that, communicate, and of course, in a cordial way, politely. That's what I talked about with him. If you saw my video on Should Catholics Date Non-Christians, check that video out. That's what I said. For me, I'm a very sarcastic person. I can say some hurtful things, and my cousin is definitely that way. And when you approach the situation that way, it usually leads down a dead end path. And that's what he said. He's like, well, at the beginning, it's never like that, but once you get comfortable, you can say those hurtful things, and yes, that's something we all need to work on. The next one, it just says, Proverbs 12:4. It can just say, if you have that bad relationship, it says, or a bad wife, she can bring shame, like rottenness in your bones, right? And with my buddies, everybody's wanting to get married, but I know how my friends are, and just because you go on one date and I know how my friends are doesn't mean you have to try and marry the first woman that you talk to, right? You've got to be able to explore your options. That's like my friend will say, well, I'm just not into her, this and that. And it's like, well, it doesn't matter. She might not be into you, But you need the experience of getting out there and talking to people, right? So if you don't have any experience of being comfortable around a woman, then you need to at least get out there and start dating. I have a buddy who did go on a date and he said he was terrified and nervous, and I get that way around women as well. But when it's a foreign experience to you, that's how it's going to be. So you just got to be willing to go out there and talk and chat and see what happens, you know? So next we're at Sirach 26, 1 through 4. A good wife is a great blessing from the Lord, whether rich or poor, all the times he will have a smile on his face. And then with that one, we went to Ephesians 5:24, and it just says, let's see, Jesus is the church is subject to Christ, or just as the church is subject to Christ, also wives ought to be in everything to their husbands. And that's what men like to hear, right? Your woman must submit to your man, but then you go 4 sentences down, in the same way husbands should love their wives as they love their own bodies. He who loves his wife loves himself. And unfortunately, with today's society, addiction, pornography, all these crazy things, we're not healthy. We're not healthy. That's what I always try to tell people. You can't really love someone until you love yourself. So if you can't even get yourself right, how are you supposed to expect to love someone else? So when it really comes down to it, you need to be able to look at yourself. How are you mind, body, spirit, right? I'll make a video on kind of what your body represents in your faith and your health. So, that's just what it is. How healthy are you? How do you treat yourself? I don't know if you've ever heard the term. When I was listening to my podcast and stuff, I heard a great quote, and it was, if you heard someone talk about you the way you talk about yourself, would that person be your friend? Right? Because we all say horrible things about ourselves. It's in our nature, unfortunately. For me, I'm kind of the glass is half empty or whatever type of person. I'm trying to work on it, but that's the unfortunate thing. We don't see the value of ourselves, and then there's that fine line. I'm going to make a video on it of pride, and then just knowing your worth. That's a discussion I've had with my client, and I'll be making a video on that as well. Like I said, just that first page, my cousin and I were like 45 minutes in. It was great because we were talking about friendship and other things. So, that goes to that. Then we're going to 1 Corinthians 7, 4 through 5. And this one just talks about, you should always be one with your wife. You should always be together no matter what. And then it says, do not deprive one another except perhaps by agreement for a set time to devote yourself to prayer, and then come together again, so that Satan may not tempt you because of your lack of self-control. So, like I said, it's just always being and thinking of the others. This is where I put in there, we get stuck in that concept of it's a 50-50 relationship, right? But in reality, it says love your wife as you love yourself, love your husband as you love yourself, right? So it's really, you should always be 100%. They have those bands like, what would Jesus do? Whenever you are going to be making a decision, the main question that should pop in your head is, how is this going to affect my wife or my husband? That's the main thing. So it's really not 50-50. It's 100%, 100% going the opposite way, always putting the other one first. And then I'm going to scratch that one that I put there. So next we're at Colossians 3:18 through 19. Wives, you're subject to your husbands. Husband, love your wives and never treat them harshly. So once again, it's just, I was listening to Christian radio the other day, and the guy said, he said, you can tell, he said, I pride myself in knowing that I do not hang around with men who badmouth their wives or their girlfriends. Because why do you want to be involved with someone that badmouths their wife and girlfriend? Because evidently they're probably in the wrong relationship. They're in it for the wrong reason. So, if you're at that point where you are talking ill about your spouse in front of others, there's something wrong. You shouldn't be doing that, right? You should never be doing that. And we all struggle with that. I've been guilty of it myself. So, so that's just something to think about. You should never, ever bash them in front of others. Like I dated a chick who had a best friend, and her best friend didn't like me, right? And at that time, that's when I drank a lot, and I was on the wrong path. But then eventually they stopped being friends, and then I met up with her and we hung out a few times. I went to her birthday party and stuff like that. And then she set me aside. She took me aside and she was like, you know what? I just want to apologize for the way that I treated you. She's all, because you're a really nice guy. It's just I took the side of my friend, and you're a really nice person, and I just wanted to say I'm sorry. And it's like, I understand. It's the way it is. And my friends probably felt the same way because I was young, foolish, and doing the same thing. So it's just don't ever do that type of stuff. Just something we've got to work on. And that's where I wanted to come up with. That's why the church talks bad on gossip. That's something you should confess for gossip, just because it doesn't matter if it's true or not. This is a conversation I had with my goddaughter one day when we were going to our confession, and she didn't think she had anything to confess for. And that's why I told him it doesn't matter if you saw something and you say it and it's true. And like I said, I struggle with this to this day. I was gossiping during this conversation, but it's like I told her, in girls' terms, it's like, I don't care if you saw a girl picking her nose. There's no reason for you to go and tell your friends that you saw her picking her nose, because what good does that do? Yes, it's true, but next thing you know, they're going to be making fun of that girl. Who knows? She can go home and start cutting herself, or be in a real depressive state. And just because it was true, it didn't need to be said. There's no reason for it. So same thing with your spouses. No matter what, it's between the two of you. Don't let that stuff out in public. And we're all guilty of it. I'm guilty of it myself, Then we're back at Sirach 9:1 through 9. And then this one just talks about adultery. Pretty much is what it is. It's about cheating on your spouse, and just to be careful of it. Not to fall for the looks of another woman, the beauty of a woman or another man, when the relationship that you have with your spouse is greater than that. So, all right, folks, I left you there for a second. You probably didn't know it, but I had to take a phone call. So yeah, like I said, it was about adultery. Next, we're on Sirach 26:5 through 9. And this one just talks. This, like I said, when I try to make this open for public, for people to use, this one would go back to it's at a place. But this one is the same thing. It's just talking about making sure that you don't settle for the first woman that you meet, and we make sure that we're selecting the right wife to be with, right? And once again, I was listening just to the regular Christian station yesterday, and the guy it was about relationships, which is good. And it was the same thing. It's like, just because times are hard doesn't mean that you found the wrong woman, right? He said, because when I usually sit there and talk with these husbands and wife on their counseling, it's usually just that they're not giving their all. So yeah, it's just really about giving your all. Then I have some other ones from Sirach, but I was just tired of typing, so it'd be Sirach 23:16 through 21, Sirach 26:13 through 18. Then of course we go into final thoughts. What do we want to discuss next week? For me, it's nobody really cares, so I just go with it. I just pick my own topic and I go for it. The next, topics for that, things that we still need to talk about. Write a paragraph or something that you would like to share with people in the next meeting. And then I don't think I talked about last time, but then I have a CD. I think I did discuss it. All my buddies listen to gangster rap. That's what I grew up on, was gangster rap. So I try to eliminate that from my life. I don't want to have any of that negativity in my life. So then I always give a CD, and just give them to listen to. Like I said last week, this is great stuff for anyone to listen to. I got this CD like 2 years ago. I was able to download it for free online. It might be for sale now because D1 is becoming a little more popular, but it's D1 I Hope They Hear Me, Volume 1. Great stuff. I hung out with my cousin a little bit before we had this conversation, and he was going through it and telling me what songs that he did like. I was like, this song is pretty tight. I like this one. I like this one. I like this one. And then this week, I did Lecrae Church Clothes Volume 1. This as well was just a mixtape. I think my cousin got it for me on datpiff.com. That might be where I Hope They Hear Me Volume 1 is. I don't know. I got that one on my own. But it's the same thing. Just listen to it. Try to get that positiveness in your life. And there is a little bit of negativity in it. I mean, not negativity, but just talks about the negative things in the world. Because of course this life is you have to deal with pain and suffering. So that's why I like the Christian rap aspect a little more, because they do talk about pain and suffering. And how you can overcome it. So that's why I like it. So there you go, folks. Leader among friends, leading your friends. And, that's it right there. So once again, I appreciate your time. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to the channel. Share and like these videos. We'll come back at you soon.